I'm meteorologist Nicholas Herboso for Next Weather on this Monday, January 5th, 2026. Happy to be back with you. Now, we're going to do something. Typically, we don't talk a lot of true forecast stuff on Next Weather, but we're going to do this a little bit today, focusing on a long-range thunderstorm chance, because it really has not been active recently, and I thought it would be good to kind of go over some of the big-scale parameters, large-scale parameters that we look at this far out of a potential thunderstorm event to kind of give you an idea. Right now, what the Storm Prediction Center has done, this is their day 5 outlook. So the Storm Prediction Center has their convective weather outlook. So it's level 1 through 5 outlooks. What they've done here is they've gone all the way out to day 5, which is Friday the 9th, and they placed what is the equivalent of a slight risk, a level 2 out of 5, for right up the Mississippi Valley here. That does not include our Fox 10 Mobile, Pensacola viewing area, but it's still interesting that we have something this far out. It looks like the setup is there for some kind of severe weather, or at least some kind of strong thunderstorms, based on the large scale setup that we have and the abundant moisture that we have across the deep south here for this week and this first full week of January 2026. Let's look at some big picture stuff though. I'm going to go big picture and get an idea of what's going on here. We'll start here with the upper level pattern. This is the pattern at 18,000 feet up, and what we're looking at over the Gulf and over the Caribbean there is an upper level ridge. Ridge means sinking air and is typically associated aloft with warmer temperatures near the surface, especially downstream of the ridge. So to the right of the ridge, high pressure situated over that region at the surface, and that's exactly what we see. Also associated with calmer, quieter conditions overall, and warmer conditions, and that's exactly what we're seeing in our forecast under the influence of this ridge. But that ridge goes away, and our next trough comes on in here. This is the GFS forecast model. The GFS forecast model has somewhat shifted the shape and look of this trough over the central United States in the past few model runs. But there is a trough that's there. Anytime we have a deep trough like this, we get some kind of storm system development on the right side of that green area, that right side of that trough. And I think we're going to see that again. Exactly how that looks and exactly how that evolves, we're going to need some more model runs in the days ahead to get a better picture. What's going to happen aloft is we're going to have the trough that swings through, and at the surface we're going to get the response of a low pressure system that develops. And that low pressure system and cold front, warm front that develops, that will be the focus point for the thunderstorms to generate and develop. Anytime you think about a cold front, you think about thunderstorms generating right on that cold front. So that's the situation that's happening here. I'm going to switch maps now. We're going to look at the upper level winds. So we're still looking at 500 millibars. We're still looking at that level, upper level of the atmosphere, where the troughs and ridges are, where the big systems are. You can see the bubble over the Gulf and over Florida and over Cuba. That is the ridge, and that dip across the central United States, that is the trough, and those black lines. Then the colors indicating the wind, and you see where the red is, that is stronger wind aloft. So that's kind of a jet that's blowing air from southwest to northeast, a very common flow. But one thing we noticed about this particular trough, the way it's oriented, the way the actual upper level system is oriented, is not the most favorable for a robust thunderstorm / severe weather event. I would classify this as a neutrally to positively tilted trough, which is a positive thing because it typically leads to less robust severe weather systems. If the lines in this were oriented like that, and pretend those are black lines. If the lines were oriented like that, that would be what we would call a negatively tilted trough. So negatively tilted, slanted like that, almost like that kind of slash. You're dealing with a more potent weather system in that case. In this case, we're dealing with a little bit more of a forward slash or positively tilted trough, and that typically leads to weaker, less dynamic weather systems. So a little trough geometry for you. There you see the trough. Looks almost kind of positive, neutrally tilted there as it pushes through. All of this to say, all of those little pattern recognition things that we're doing, that gives us a clue as to what this trough will look like or what this storm system will look like this far out. This is the kind of things we look at. It's really broad weather patterns. A lot of people ask, like, you know, are we going to see severe weather? When are the thunderstorms going to get to my house? This far out is a really hard question to answer. And to give you an idea of the kind of things that we're looking at these super broad things. Here's our Futurecast. This is GFS forecast model. Shows right now this operational run that we have going. The rain showers getting to us overnight, and showers and thunderstorms as the cold front passes through. I'll mention behind this, we do have some cold air that comes in behind that cold front, so be ready for that. But it looks like a Friday night into Saturday kind of situation. Here's the forecast map again, still on the GFS forecast model, and you can see a couple of things to point out. There's a low pressure system, that little white circle right there, low pressure system that's developed right on the side of that trough. There's a little shortwave trough that's right there over the upper Mississippi River Valley. And this low is going to track across the Ohio Valley there. Zooming in, you can see rain showers off to our west here in the Pensacola area, off to our west, so we're gearing up for that system. 4 p.m. on Friday, that system gets closer. There's a new low that has developed over Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas. There's a surface low right there. And that's going to track off to the east and heading to Sunday. Once this system is completely out of here, you see the low is now located well off the coast. So this low is going to be tracking right across the nation like that. And that gives us an idea of, okay, the timing. We're going to be watching the timing of that low, where exactly that low develops, where the front develops. All that stuff will give us indications as to that long-range forecast. But by Sunday, we are clear and quiet. Now let's look at a different perspective. This is looking at the surface, looking at the southerly flow, pushing warm, moist air, which is a key ingredient for severe weather and thunderstorms, warm, moist air inland. Are we seeing that push of warm, moist air inland? Anytime we see the blues, that's acceptable air. We'll call that with dew points in the 60s. It's acceptable for thunderstorms. And you see the dark blues, we're getting a lot better, and that is a way better environment for thunderstorms. Anytime you get to the purple, that is a incredibly volatile thunderstorm environment with very, very, very moist air. We see the moisture, this is 4 p.m. on Friday, in our area, and there is a decent amount of moisture that we have, so that is kind of a check mark for that. There's going to be some moisture associated with this system as it passes through. So it's likely that we can get rain. The thunder aspect to it, let's look at instability, which is kind of jamming some of these factors together. Unstable air will help thunderstorms develop, and more unstable air, bigger thunderstorms. And right now the colors are on the lower end of the scale here from the GFS forecast model. 7 p.m. on Friday, they almost go away entirely. So instability overall is somewhat limited with this. And there's multiple factors that go into the instability, but this looks more limited on this model. We're going to see how it looks in the days ahead. By the way, rainfall note, it looks like around 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. I think that's a pretty consistent thing. So right now, this is day 5 outlook is out, and a lot of people are talking about it. But I'll tell you, it's probably going to be best that we wait. We know that it's going to rain. There's no chance for thunderstorms. But when we wait until we start to get some of the high-resolution models in 60 hours and 48 hours out of an event, that is when really we see growth and confidence in the forecast. There's really 2 things that'll give us the growth and confidence in the forecast. Is when we start to see these high-res models and get some consistency there, or when we get consistency in the global models, like the we were just looking at with the GFS, very far out. That is also a super helpful thing. Right now, we don't have any of that. So this is a little bit more of an up-in-the-air thing, but I think it's good to go over some of the factors and show you some of the factors that we look at in the long range to explain a severe weather event. So I hope this information was helpful for you here as we're on next weather. We will have more updates, of course, with our daily forecasts that come out. Check us out on social media and, of course, on fox10tv.com in the weather section. We'll have all those updates for you. But for now, here on this Monday, the first full week of 2026, I'm meteorologist Nicholas Herboso.